All right, cool. So this is the 5 most common agency pricing models, and more importantly, how to charge for them in a way that will take your online advertising agency from zero to maybe $50,000 a month, and $50,000 a month at margin. So I don't mean like you're doing $50,000 a month in revenue, take them 10%. I mean like 70, 80% like normal online advertising agency margin, stuff like that. There's 5 major types. Retainer, and typically with a retainer, you can do $1,500 to $5,000 a month. There's pay per lead, and typically $31 to $294 per lead. There's pay per payment, which is number 3, which is $50 to $500 per payment. We'll get into that in a bit. Type 4 is a percentage of ad spend, and you'll get between 5 to 10% of $1 million budgets. And consulting, which is type 5, is $500 an hour to $10,000 days. And we're going to go over what type of client you'll get, who's the best fit for, the pros and cons, all that fun stuff. And I'll have you know that if you simply change your pricing model or your pricing type, you can dramatically, so that's dramatically and drastically, alter your agency's future for the better. I've seen businesses that keep their delivery and their service and everything that they do the same, and all they do is change how they charge effectively their pricing model. They'll go from type 1 to type 3, or type 3 to type 5, or type 2 to type 4, and all of a sudden their agency and their business is like through the roof, and everybody's very, very happy. So having a deep, meaningful understanding of that matters, and this is why you're reading documents, so let's boogie. Type 1 is a retainer, and this is the most common of the top 5 common most, you know what I mean, right? So retainers is when you charge a flat rate every single month to a client in exchange for services rendered, results delivered, problems solved, things like that. It's typically, by the way, used by newer agencies that need or want a consistent, reliable, or steady income in exchange for a set number of services. So it's not for agencies that are like super advanced, running complicated funnels, that complicated CRMs, all that. It's typically for newer agencies that want consistent, reliable, and steady income. The complicated stuff is like later on. Very often you don't need to do that, by the way. Or this is for agencies that have a rinse and repeat way of working. So it's the same thing again and again and again for everybody. And that can be for the same product across all of your clients, like a YouTube ads agency or YouTube clips agency. It can be the same service for all of your clients as you're calling everybody back and doing the same process and the same steps. It could be the same program like the Wallet Out campaign, but it's the same thing again and again and again. And it's a very easy and non-complicated way of charging. It's a very easy and non-complicated charging model to communicate to clients, usually on auto charge every single week or every single month, something like that. It's easy to get clients to get them as long as you want, as long as you maintain expectations. So you're not trying to, make them $1 million overnight type of thing. You don't try to save them so their business cannot be on the downward trend. Then they employ you expecting you to change their directory type of thing, their direction. And as long as you're not promising the world, it should be easy to get clients. Typically, this attracts smaller to medium clients with a smaller budget. Like as I've gone through my agency journey, when I talk retainer, it's usually like $5,000, maybe $8,000 a month marketing budget and below. Above that, they tend to charge differently, or they tend to appeal to different things. I've seen exceptions to that rule, but it's pretty rare that somebody walks around town saying, I've got $1 million a month budget and I pay an agency $1,500 a month to manage it. It's pretty rare, right? Just think like everyday mom and pop local businesses where the owner could do it if they wanted to, but they don't want to. And they typically have lower than normal advertising budgets, and it's often their marketing money or their mortgage money, which is very important. They will hold on and question and have lots of conversations about your fees, what you're doing, how you're doing, because it's a choice between they travel, they pay their mortgage, or they try to get new clients. It's just the name of the game of small business, right? The setup is a very easy price point, stupid simple ads. We focus on this inside of our agency programs. And you can work to get clients. And typically these clients don't ask for dozens of case studies, years of proof, free trials, industry experience. They go, all right, you're a normal dude that I kind of trust you and you're not trying to screw me overnight. Okay, fine, let's do it. Like that's how they do business type of thing. I use this charging model to hit $40,000 a month consistently as a solopreneur with a part-time assistant. So I was walking with like maybe 90% margins, not including software, with like $3,000 a month back then in total. So it's pretty useful. You have your own brand or assets, or you can use your client's brand and assets. In this example, by the way, I think we were charging them $8,000 or $9,000 a month, something like that. And they could not figure out how to talk on camera. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to be your spokesperson. And all of a sudden, I was their brand and I was their assets, and I was shooting the videos. It was pretty cool. That YouTube ad is still running, by the way. It's awesome. And I got paid a lot of money for it, and they were very, very happy. Like I mentioned, you have a lot of freedom to use your own brand or assets or your client's brand or assets. And as long as it's not disingenuous, they're like, yeah, sure, fine, go for it. Have a good time. You don't even have to ask me. And often you'll build so much working trust, they'll do whatever you want to get the end result, to get them the end result. So if you're going in and saying, hey, man, we've been working together for like 6 months, I want to run this ad, they go, okay, fine. They don't need to like double check or anything like that. They're like, all right, no big deal, right? The pros are it's easiest price point, easy, consistent services, arguably the same delivery every single month, and your margins typically should be getting better over time with that client. So that means if you're charging $1,500 a month, the first month, you spend a lot of time, effort, energy getting them. Second month, a lot of time, effort, energy, figure it out. Third month, you're just in maintenance. So your dollars per client, your dollars per time for that client should move up and up and up. It's easy to get started. There's a quick mastery of sales, conversations, and fulfillment. Sales calls are easy, rinse and repeat. You can buy time and team and focus with your extra money. You can do extra things, move the needle in the right direction, so you don't have to go, hey, Mr. Johnson, can you approve all these emails because I want to send them out on your behalf? It's usually, hey, we're going to be sending out a bunch of emails. Look out for them. They go, okay, fine, just like that. So you didn't have to like have them approved by their brand and vice president department or anything like that. And you can often see bad results coming in before the client does and deal with it beforehand. So if your Facebook ads drop, you can do a new campaign. If your Google ads plunge, you can try TikTok for a bit. You can see that before your client realizes, hey, we haven't gotten any sales in like 30, 60 days or something like that. The downside and the cons, it's easy to scope creep and say yes out of guilt, where you're like, all right, fine, I guess I'll do it. They'll say, we've been working together, don't you trust me? And you're like, oh my God. Sometimes it's a lot of work one month and you work too little the next month. Sometimes it's easy to lose clients in non-performing campaigns, a bad month on their part, a bad month on your part, or they want to travel and they just say, I'm just not going to pay this guy, and you lost a client type of thing. These are the clients that are easily attracted to, or they're easy to attract, and they tend to leave the easiest, especially if you don't have industry experience, you don't have working relationship, I call it working trust, or knowledge of the industry, or not marketing yourself to remind them to stick with you. Growth usually means smaller margin, more staff, more complexity. Either you're bringing on more clients or you're charging that client more and doing more type of thing. And sometimes you make your client $1 million and you only make $1,500 and you feel happy but also sour about it. So that's the first one. Like I mentioned, I've used this charging model, type 1 retainer, to grow to $40,000 a month. I know people that doing it are at $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a month with very, very healthy margins. They're very, very happy. And everybody's kosher with it. So that's the first type. The second type is right here, which is your pay per lead method of charging people, charging businesses. Pay per lead is, by the way, when you sell thousands of leads to a massive $1 million a month or even $1 million a week company, and they purchase thousands at a time across many different agencies. It's lead generation in its purest form, because you don't have to worry about the selling, you don't have to worry about compliance, you don't have to worry about approvals. It's just, you're only doing lead generation and arguably only doing media buy. It's very, very useful. These types of clients, if you do this, you'll attract clients that are doing $1 million a month advertising budgets, and or they're brokers. Usually they don't plug in directly with an agency. They'll go through a broker who will take a fee. And then when you as an agency get big enough, you'll often be able to go direct. But until then, you'll have to work with a broker type of thing. They'll have dedicated marketing budgets, proven businesses, professional operations. Like, these are like normal businesses that are like listed on the stock exchange. They're huge companies, right? Very often statewide, very often national. They have proven processes, operations steps, staff, all that stuff. And their problem is never like I need help. It's more like I need more type of thing. It's easy to find them with those brokers, exchanges, asking around websites. You do basic Googling type of thing. And they often know more about what you do than what you actually do. They'll often employ ex-agency owners, kind of like how you work for a major law firm and then you work for a company doing their law, same exact thing. So they'll hire a very successful agency or to manage the agencies. So you'll be on the phone with somebody and you'll try to razzle dazzle, and he's like, man, I used to do that stuff. Don't even try it, right? They'll know more about you than they'll know more about what you do than you do. Your setup is you'll contact that company, fill out a couple forms, submit your creatives for approval. And they're not in the business of stealing creatives. They just want to make sure that you're not being disingenuous with your creatives. And sometimes they'll have like brand guidelines or regulations that you got to follow. So if you're doing like healthcare and stuff, got to wait 2 or 3 weeks, you'll get the green light, and then you can start sending them leads. They'll agree to a certain number of leads at a certain price and pay you after they've received them pending approval. And you'll have to use your own brand, your own ads, your own landing pages, CRMs, your own internal steps, whatever you want. And by the way, you have to front big dollars beforehand because it's you paying for the leads, and then you sell them, and then you get paid. So it's that standard, you buy something for $1 and sell it for $2 type business. If your client accepts phone calls, you have to figure out a process for that and send them to Exchange. It's easier than you think. There's a lot of programs and software that handle that. And the pro is you'll get huge orders with incredibly competent brokers or exchanges or clients that own their success, and they'll never say it didn't work because you didn't make it work. They'll always say we couldn't make it work, which is very, very useful. They have advanced systems that let you listen into the calls and track leads from beginning to end. I have seen people send thousands of calls per day, and the client is like, yo, you want to double tonight? That's okay too. And you can track them all the way through. You'll get an individual phone number. It takes 15 seconds to build it up. It's totally compliant. Everything is kosher. Client calls. So the calls that you send to your client are often just a 15, 20-minute report backed by data and proof. They'll never say, what did you do? They'll always say, this is what we got. You'll get big checks that you can show off to your friends and make 30, 40% at huge scale. So you can literally get $1 million checks. And then you'll make 30% or sometimes 40%. By the way, that means you have to spend like $700,000 on ads and then get paid $1 million for it. It's a big number, but also it's a big money out. There's markets for this for almost any industry product or service, and you get to focus exclusively on creatives and media buying, Facebook, Google, TikTok, you name it. The con is that you have to put out cash first and get paid later. And success is often a spray and pray creatives game. Like there isn't competency on business process or language or transformation. It's just, hey man, this creative worked, and you don't have attachment to the success. It just happens to be an ad that works at the moment. Usually competing with A-plus players at lots of experience, industry, budgets, stuff like that. Here's an interesting part. It can often disappear or drastically change quarter to quarter. So oil spills are a big deal, and now they aren't, which means all your competency around oil spills is gone. Healthcare is a big deal, maybe like 1 month out of the year. Roundup is going to be a big deal, and then now it's not. Pest control, okay, depending upon the season and the region. Camp Lejeune, you've been seeing that a lot. Next year it'll be gone type of thing. And the businesses and the ads that run often don't feel great. You're not particularly proud of the fact that, you're advertising kind of scammy and sleazy ads for old people Medicare, right? On that note, you'll often run right on the edge advertising to be successful. So you may get banned. And if you do, you've lost a lot of money, time, effort, opportunity, and you have to employ some very black hat processes on getting these things up and running. And it's very much a cat and mouse, cops and robbers type relationship with these traffic companies. Type 3 is pay for payment. Typically a business that has an easy as prepayment or upfront charge, like $100 sub type of thing, or sub $100. Med spas, tutors, home cleaners, massages, people that are typically like, all right, I'll pay it up front and then receive services later. And there's not a lot of questions about it. It's easy to understand, quickly to advertise for, and you can have a discussion, by the way, with this future client about a setup fee from $1,000 to $5,000 and or negotiate to a, just cover my cost, man, and everybody will be happy type of thing. The clients that a pay per payment model attracts are typically small businesses that have a narrative of, I've had poor experience with agencies in the past. There's reasons for that we're not going to get into. Or they want to try something unique and different, or they want aligned incentives with their agency. If you ever talk to a client that's like, I only make money when you make money, if you're like that type of person or that type of narrative, this is what they mean. They tend to have lower, easy access to advertising budgets. Like they're never going to say, hey, we got $50,000 this week, let's advertise. And they're never going to say, hey, I'm going to ask my boss for $1 million a month advertising budget. It's not going to happen. They don't have access to it because it's usually their business. And even if they are interested, they're not going to do it, right? They are interested in advertising, but they're not, they're clearly cautious with their dollars type of thing. Like you'll have to feel like you're prying some money out of somebody. They're often solopreneurs or one-person shops, maybe 2 or 3 people. They have low staff typically, and they can only take additional 2 to 3 customers a day. And sometimes, by the way, there are some businesses that will have trouble wrapping their head around this type of thing. Like they want to talk to them a lot beforehand, or do a questionnaire or an audit, or know their client beforehand type of things. You're going to have to deal with that mental trash. The setup is you'll create an ad and advertise their product and advertise their price points, and a future customer will purchase either through a landing page or a conversation or over the phone type of thing. And that money will go straight to the client. Like, you're not going to intercept those funds type of thing. I do want to say you can adjust this a bit to your market. Like, if you're doing construction or if you're doing general contracting, you can say, look, you only get paid when you collect that $89 fee when you show up. So I get a percentage of that. Or you get paid when the client gets a sale. So you can say, hey, Mr. Johnson, look, I'm going to run all these ads and I only get paid $500 when they actually close a deal. And they go, okay, fine. So you have to be conscious of that time frame, how long it takes to go from close to sold type of thing. Cold to sold, yeah. Then you build a client's credit card, a flat rate per successful sale or percentage of sale. I've seen this model, by the way, work very, very well. I'm talking like $2,000 or $3,000 a week at very high margin with not a lot of work. But it'll never go beyond $2,000 or $3,000 a week. Growth would mean another client type of thing. So you just have to be conscious of it. That's it. You'll often have to create a working offer that is at least competitive. Chances are they won't have it. You have to do some research, some type of thinking. And you'll have to have a deep understanding of what's working in terms of upselling and cross-selling and downselling processes in their industry. And that's because the way they will make their money is not actually from this $100 sale. That's for you. The way they will make their money is selling higher tier packages. The pros, that's an easy yes for a client to come on board, and you'll get a lot of interest fast. You just have to run an ad saying effectively this pricing model, and they'll say, all right, how does that work? Often switching to this pricing model will make your client getting ads suddenly work out of nowhere. It's really, really cool. This can be your assets or your brand or their assets and their brand, and they really don't care as long as it's not disingenuous. Like, they're not going to have a heart attack because it's a different color or 99 cents versus $97 cents or $0 type of thing. You don't have to worry about no-shows because the customer has paid their ticket type of thing. You will have a better relationship with your client most times. But the downside is they'll often cap out at 2 to 3 prepayments per day. Like, it'll be really, really hard for a Botox spa to say, give me 500 people this week. It's not going to happen, right? They have their own bottlenecks. And typically, when you're having conversations with clients, you should internally say 2 to 3 prepayments per day, which means you're only making $300 a day, which is $9,000 a month. But hey, not too bad. Just be aware of it. The downside is your fee will wildly vary depending upon the advertising auctions. If Coca-Cola decides to buy your market for that week or that month, you're screwed. If you don't have a competitive Black Friday or Cyber Monday, you'll be advertised out of the market. It depends upon their availability. So if it turns out like, hey, we can't have you coming in for another 3 weeks, that's 3 weeks that you won't actually get paid type of thing, if that's your agreement. It may be the case where people buy beforehand and then show up and then they're so busy that they get angry, and then you got to have that conversation with your client. And sometimes it's whether or not the client's price point is attractive. So I went to a med spa. I looked at their price sheet. They had starting points of $597. Like, how are you going to advertise that? You know what I mean? They might wake up one day and say, why am I spending $5,000 a month when I can get a retainer for less? So that's always a bit of a risk. And success is based upon the client's ability to upsell a prepaid packages. So if somebody comes in and they've already paid their $100 for a massage, the client will make their money when they sell a 10-pack, a 20-pack, a 30-pack of friends and family, the bottles, the massages, the bonuses, all that stuff. And the argument is no longer the show, but the argument is like, I didn't make a sale because this person wasn't quality, when really they didn't know how to sell or they refused to learn how to sell or something like that. So this is still a problem, but you're upgrading your problems. Next up is the type 4, which is the percentage of ad spend. These are typically citywide or regional players with huge budgets in the range of $1 million a year. You'll get a percentage of the budget to keep for yourself, and your job is to run the damn thing out of the dollars that you have been, off the top. Take your margin and do what you want. Typically, these are big budgets, citywide or statewide players at a pre-planned budget. So they'll meet once a business quarter, once a year, and say like, hey, we got this amount of money to spend on marketing, this amount of money to spend on advertising. Usually they'll start off with like $100,000 a month, because those internal ways of working are a function of the people that they attract to that business. So they start doing business planning and stuff like that. They will go agency shopping, and you'll take your fee 5 to 10% off the top for administering the budget. They are professional entrepreneurs who care about marketing dollars in, dollars out, stuff like that. And they have good internal processes set up for success. It's a get me more thing, not a I need help thing. The setup is you will request access to their assets because they're going to be big into branding, big into making sure that like they collect the data, that they're collecting signups or tracking their numbers or blah, blah, blah. So you'll need some type of tracking stuff to prove that your stuff works. You'll probably sync with their team every now and then and set up multiple marketing channels like search, display, and video on Google, lead and video on Facebook, hashtags for you pages, discovery on TikTok, et cetera, et cetera. And there might be a marketing person who is the brain and you are the hands who gets their work approved type relationship. The good news is you're going to be working with bigger budgets, bigger radiuses, better people, and better companies that will naturally get better results, even if you are not doing their job simply because they have a better business. So like, your retainer and your pay for payment, those are definitely one type of client. And the clients with $1 million a year budget, it's a different type of client altogether. You'll be able to present your work on stage, which is cool. You can say, hey, here's how we managed $1 million a year budget and got our client, consistent 3x, 4x, 5x on their ROI. And you'll present and you say, wow, this is amazing. And you'll be working with better people, better companies. You'll be able to use it as a lighthouse account. Say, this is what we're doing for this other big company. We can do it for you too. You'll get more new clients because of it. And you'll be able to spin off your learnings into marketing assets. So that means like, here's how we diagnosed and figured out why we had a $30,000 channel leak type of thing. You'll be able to say, here's how we increase our click-through rates from 1% to 4% over 90 days. Like those weird esoteric marketing to marketers type of thing. It's because of this. They'll often have goals outside of ROI, like impressions, brand awareness, targeting certain people, decision makers. So if they are in the business of like building roads or something like that, they're going to say, we don't care about ROI, man. We just want the politicians who make the buying decisions to be aware of our brand and the good work type of thing. And the people you work with will be very, very good at their job. The downside is you'll have to master a large number of creatives, channels, and accounts, and often will lead to click death, which is you will be death by clicking. Like you have to click so many things, you're like, oh my God, like I'm never going to keep up. You'll have to set up a lot of internal reporting, KPIs, processes, all that stuff to know which works best and why, be able to defend those decisions. Your revenue will be based upon their ad spend, which means you have to manage the ads out of their remaining dollars, which means your $5,000 a month revenue, even though you're managing $50,000 a month budget or $100,000 a month budget, will often get cut. Like you're not making the five, you know what I mean? Because you need staff, margins, and the constant clicking arounds means that you're spending all your time on a $5,000 a month client, but you're not actually going out and getting a client type of thing. Very often, and what you think is cutting edge is pretty normal to the people you're working with, and they don't fall for the hype. They've been webinared to death. They've been 3-secreted to death. Like these are professionals to professionals, not people to people, and not consumer to consumer. So the way you'll narrative and communicate with them will be massively different. Next up is consulting. These are clients and businesses of any size that are looking for a transformation, and you'll have to outline that transformation in 3 to 5 steps that your client should go on through to get that transformation. So step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. This process usually requires a deep, meaningful experience of your own, strong communication of what they should be doing and why they should be doing it, objection handling, brain trash handling, perspective breaking, all this like cult stuff. You'll usually have to communicate that way. You'll have and need a background of massive proof and mastery of the ability to present. I'm talking about on stage, but doing it in a way that's in person and almost in normal everyday conversation. Typically, these attract any clients of all sizes, but the difference is it's a small sliver that are attracted to how you communicate, break things down into chunks, and present ideas that are actionable. Think like professional companies like McKinsey, Bain, and BCG. They have plenty of clients across many different industries and many different verticals and many different products, but it's only a certain part of those industries, products, and services that are attracted to consulting companies, that type of thing. You'll often be able to sell hourly consulting as a package, office days, in-person events that have really no work on your part after the event. So hourly fees, by the way, you'll see like $500 an hour being thrown around with no questions asked. I've seen in-office days go for $30,000, no questions asked, and on-call contracts for $250,000 a year. People just sign it and they pay it and they say, get to call you at any time. You got to pick up, and the guy goes, all right, that's the game plan, just like that. You'll need a lot of long-tail marketing assets like articles, stage presence, books, history, all that fun stuff. You can't just run out saying, hey, pay me $500 an hour. It's going to be very, very difficult to get success that way. Plus, you'll need a strong network of people that point to you as a knowledgeable individual in the field. That means you're having real-life relationships where you help people out in a genuine manner, get them a result, and then all of a sudden, when you advertise or you're on stage and you say, hey, you can pay me, $30,000 to go to your office for a day, you have people in the audience who are like, man, that was worth it. Like, I was so happy I hired Jeff. I wish I could hire him again, but we just don't need his services anymore. And damn, $30,000, like that's a lot, but it's worth it. Like you need that narrative in the crowd. If you're good, your clients will dramatically transform for the better and will own their journey better than any other model. Like, you would put the onus on them. You are the Yoda, they are the Luke type of thing. And you'll be able to leverage into a strong referral network, kickbacks through the roof, people saying, hey, if you send me business, I'll make sure you're taken care of. Plus, you can introduce your own services with A-plus players. This happens a lot. Somebody that is well-respected in the field will launch an agency, and all of a sudden they're doing $1 million a week. It's incredibly interesting seeing that happen. And you'll also get paid upfront without any guarantees of results, clawbacks, or delivery of work. So you can get paid $500 an hour just for a Zoom. You can get paid, like I said, $30,000 a month, or $30,000 for a in-office day. And you can get on-call contracts that sometimes clients don't even use. Useful, right? The downside is that they often are buying you or seriously experienced team members, like a bench of experts. So there's you and your friends, and you can call in your friends and make shit happen, make shit work. You can say, hey, you got this problem. I got the email, that guy that can fix it. He owes me a favor. I'm going to call him right now. He's going to make sure you're taken care of. And you can pay them or just exchange favors, that type of thing. But it's usually a call in a favor type of approach. The sales process is very, very long. Requires intense branding, intense relationships, and a long history of working results. You'll have to craft and study a lot. Like, you'll have to master what you do and how you do it across many different industries. Find common things, execute frameworks, and people will constantly ask for proof. And the market will always be changing. So it's not like you can just do one thing and then 3 years later it's relevant. No, it's going to be changing all the time. So you have to constantly be reading those articles. And if you skip the journey of earning your stripes and cutting your teeth, people will often tear you down saying you don't have legitimacy, you've never done this before type of thing. Kind of like, so what if you went to Harvard? How long have you been doing this job type of approach? And that's the basic 5 models. I would say the most common ways to get from $0 to $50,000 a month. Any of these 5 can work. It's whether or not your market appeals to it, and more importantly, your subsection of a market. So out of like 1 million customers, sometimes you'll be in the retainer area when you should be going, oh my God, I need to be in the consulting area. And sometimes you'll be in the consulting area by accident. You don't know why, you don't know how. You're like, God, I really just wish I had like a pay-per-lead type of thing. So you can switch them, and that's you just advertising differently. But any of these can get you to a $500,000 a year business very, very quickly, or $50,000 a month business very, very quickly. You just have to master it. And if for some reason you exist in one of those buckets and you want to be in a different bucket, you can switch. You just have to be conscious and understanding that the only reason you're not bringing on clients is because of how you charge, not your delivery, not your product, not your price, not your all that stuff, right? My team can help you with this, by the way. If you want access to this document, you're going to DM me pricing models, and I'll send it your way. My offer and my promise to you, if we decide to help you on your agency journey, we help you scale your agency business with product and price advertising, and place a fully trained operator in your business that will call and qualify the leads for you. So literally every day, your operator will be calling your leads or your clients' leads, calling them, qualifying them, and setting appointments, walk-ins, or live transfers to you or your client. And if we do not create profitable campaigns for your agency within 90 days, we'll keep you in the program until you do. It's very, very useful. If you need any help, again, DM me pricing models, and we can set up a call. Or if you want just a demo of how we work, you can book a call by clicking this little link right here. My team, by the way, has 0 incentives to hard sell you. Like, I've been in the business long enough to where like hard selling doesn't work and burns out too quickly. And we only take on clients with 100% certainty that we can actually like achieve serious profitable campaigns. It's aggressive, but if like we only take on clients that we know can change your business for the better. Like, how much would it suck if like we take you on as a client, coach you one-on-one for 90 days, and then have to refund you then, and it's not really the business I'm in, right? Plus, my entire staff is based on client success, and they get a percentage of client success, so that type of stuff. So we have 0 motivation to hard sell you. You can book a call. There's no cost to it. And maybe those 40 minutes are the best 3 months of execution in the next phase of your agency journey. So that's it for this video. Again, type 1 is retainer, typically 1,500 to 5K. Type 2 is pay-per-lead, 30 to 300. Type 3 is pay-per-lead, 50 to 500 per. Percentage of estimate is 5 to 10%, and consulting is $500 to $10,000 days. And there's pros and cons to each, but just having a meaningful understanding of one or the other. And then very often when we work with an agency, we can change 1 or 2 of these 3 levers, and then they up very, very quickly. So that's it for this video. I hope you make some money, and see you later. Bye.